VBAC, or vaginal birth after cesarean, is a topic that you may be researching for a current or future pregnancy. There are several factors to consider if you are a good candidate for this type of birth. I'm Kelly Jo Eddy, co-leader of the San Diego chapter of ICANN, and today we'll be discussing the risks and benefits of vaginal birth after cesarean. This is Preggy Pals, episode 96.
Is that a plus sign?
Pink or blue? Hospital or home birth?
What type of food should I be eating?
I think I just peed myself. I'm pregnant and I have to exercise.
What pregnancy glow?
Wait, was that a contraction?
Gotta make these pants fit. I've got kinkles. What do you mean there's more than one?
You've got the symptoms, and now you've got the support you need for a happy 9 months. This is Preggy Pals, your pregnancy, your way.
Welcome to Preggy Pals, broadcasting from the Birth Education Center of San Diego. Preggy Pals is your weekly online, on-the-go support group for expecting parents and those hoping to become pregnant. I'm your host, Annie Laird. Thanks to all of our loyal listeners who have joined the Preggy Pals Club. Our members get special episodes, bonus content after each show, plus special giveaways and discounts. See our website for more information. Another way for you to stay connected is by downloading our free Preggy Pals app, which is available in the Android and iTunes marketplace. Now, Sunny's going to be talking to us about our virtual panelist program.
Yeah, so if you guys aren't here in San Diego where we record our shows, you can still participate in our conversations. You can like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. If you are a fan of Twitter, follow hashtag PreggyPalsVP, which stands for Virtual Panelists. And we'll be posting some of the questions that we're asking our in-studio panelists, so you can join the conversation, make comments on our Facebook page, and we'll even include some of those comments on our show. And if we do, you'll win a 1-month membership to the Preggy Pals Club.
Great. Thanks, Sunny. Well, let's go around and introduce our panelists. I'm Annie Laird. I'm the host of Preggy Pals. I have 3 daughters and no due date. So for once, I'm not pregnant, which is, probably good, considering I have 2 kids under the age of 2. So,
my name is Stephanie Glover. I'm 31. I'm a stay-at-home mom to 2 girls, Gretchen, who is 2.5, and Lydia, who's 6 months old. And Lydia is my VBAC baby, and my first, of course, obviously, is my C-section baby.
Hi, my name's Natalina Gleason. I'm soon to be 32.
But you're still, you're still not advanced maternal age.
No.
So,
yeah, we're good. We're good.
Yeah.
Pregnant with my second. My first, David, is my leapling, born in 2012, and I'm hoping to have a VBAC this August.
Awesome, thanks. And explain what leapling is again.
Leapling, sorry,
yeah.
2/29. Anybody born on February 29th?
That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. See, well, we've just worked out that way.
Yeah, it did. He, he picked it.
Yeah. Well, sometimes here on Preggy Pals, as our featured segment, we review an app or we talk about an interesting article. So this is, sometimes it's a more of an amusing article. This is probably less amusing and actually a more serious topic. The title of the article is "The Big Lie in Putting Off Pregnancy." And this was on CNN and it was broadcast last month. And what it talks about is that there's this is broadcast in Southern California. So you see a lot of this around LA of all these celebrities who are pregnant, references, and they're pregnant later on in life. Halle Berry having her second baby at 47 years old. Kelly Preston doing the same thing. Uma Thurman had her 3rd child at 42. And Julianne Moore, Tina Fey, Salma Hayek, all these people are having their babies in their 40s, and how there's almost a it's the big lie, basically, that, no problem if you had a miscarriage, when you were 38, you have time, you're not even in your 40s yet. A lot of women putting off their pregnancies due to a career or a need to be a little bit more financially stable. I mean, what do you ladies think about this? Do you think that's has an effect? Do you see a lot more older pregnant women? And, what is your experience with other women or maybe even yourself having to go through like fertility treatments?
What is with the mommy war stuff? Gosh, it just seems like more and more a woman is a mother no matter what her age. And I think if somebody makes a choice to have a career and to have children later in life, then that's her business and that's her life and that's her path. I had my first when I was 22, and I remember feeling so much judgment from the nurse. And she made snide remarks about my age and how I didn't really know what I was doing when my first was born because I was so young. And I just, that was my path, and that was what I chose, and good for me. And, Halle Berry, good for her. She's a hot mom, and she's hot. How old is she, 47?
Yeah, she's 47.
Good for her. That's what I...
But do you think that it's deceiving that women look at Halle Berry, that she is 47, and think, oh, well, I can get pregnant at any age, and
Yeah, I will say that I think that that we don't hear everybody's birth story. So we don't know if she had 10 miscarriages or if she went through fertility treatments, because maybe she's not being open and honest about it. Some people have an easy time. My grandmother was born in 1920 to her mom at 35. Mm-hmm. And, my family has consistently had their babies in their 30s to late 30s. And that's a big deal in 1920. But not everybody has that, that kind of body. And some people in their 20s need fertility treatments. I have a friend who I think is 24 and went through a lot of treatments from the age of, I think, 21 to 24, because she met her husband early on in life, and they got married early and tried to have a baby, and for years it didn't work out.
Yeah.
And so she had issues in her 20s.
Same. I'm thinking about specifically another Navy family that I know that, she was I think she was maybe even 19 when she married her husband, and, wanted a family. But, hey, we're young. It's okay. Let's just enjoy our relationship. But it became apparent over years, and this is just early 20s where they realized, and I think it was like sometime where in her mid 20s she underwent IVF, and maybe this is a good topic for twin talks, a good article for them, because a lot of times when you do that IVF, then you end up with multiples, right? And so she had 3 babies. She had triplets, 2 boys and a little girl, and they are just darling, but a lot of negativity towards her, and for her, it was challenging, because her husband was like pretty much went on his department head tour and deployed right from when the kids were born, and she was home by herself, young mom, in her 20s, but she was blessed, she felt very grateful for her triplets. So
yeah, I like that we're getting to the age where people are a lot more upfront and honest. I mean, I miscarried before I had my son, and luckily I got pregnant right away. Mm-hmm. But I try and be pretty vocal about it, not to the point that I'm, blasting it on Facebook for everybody, because I don't want sympathy for it, but I want it to be a well-known thing that a lot of women have miscarriages. A lot of women lose babies further on in their pregnancy. I was luckily very early on, but it wasn't as if I were 16 weeks along. I had a friend that lost her baby at 24 weeks, and she was very open about it. You could talk to her and ask her questions, and I like that we're getting to that point. And I wish that moms that were having their babies in their 30s and 40s would tell us about their journey, because for some of them, maybe they get pregnant first shot, no problem, and have a great
happy
birth.
Part of the story. That's awesome when IVF works, and you're able to have these.
Right.
But I think I do agree with what the editor is writing in this column, in this article, saying, are we really seeing the other side of it? Some of the heartache that's associated maybe with
financial costs, the pain, emotionally and physically. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Mm-hmm. I don't think that I think you're right. I think it does kind of give us this joyous look on how, look, you can have your baby in your 40s and 50s and have everything you've ever wanted. But for some people it would work. But what about the people that spend $100,000 and lose multiple babies and still nothing?
Mm-hmm. And I can speak to, we planned both of our girls, and we were, I was 28 when I got pregnant with my first, 30 when I got pregnant with my second, and we were ready, and that we decided to start trying, and we were married and kind of going on the traditional path. But in so many ways, you're still never ready. So I think just to touch on that piece of it, one thing I could say to the woman who might postpone it for 10 years to focus on other things, just knowing that in those 10 years, you still might not feel ready. So, we all kind of go through the anxieties of it, even when it's planned and we're young. And
I mean, I am agreeing with all you're saying, but if somebody is, maybe running off to that awesome career that they have and they feel very fulfilled in it, you don't want them to feel pressured to have a baby just because the clock is ticking. If they're comfortable in their place and they feel like their time is not right now, I don't think that society should push them you know,
It's like,
kind
oh
of
my gosh.
pigeonhole them.
Yeah, oh my
Right.
gosh, you're 30. You better get
And
on
you're
it.
a
Right.
woman,
Yeah.
so this is your place.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point, too. Today on Preggy Pals, we're talking about planning your VBAC. Joining us today is Kelly Jo Eddy, who is the co-leader of ICAN of San Diego. ICAN is the International Cesarean Awareness Network. Kelly Jo, welcome to the show, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
Oh, let's start off with just the basics here of VBAC. You know, I was surprised when I was planning this episode. I was trying to get panelists and talking to people, you know, pregnant moms, and they say, what's VBAC? So what does that even stand for?
Well, VBAC, VBAC, stands for Vaginal Birth After Cesarean. So it would be a mom who has had one cesarean, or even 2 or 3, who is planning a vaginal birth.
Oh, okay. There was a big article that came out, the American Academy of gynecologists, right? That was talking about all these new, that continuous labor support was a good thing for reducing the cesarean rate, and it talked a lot about reducing the primary cesarean, so the number 1 cesarean, basically. So basically, what's the big deal about VBAC? I mean, why wouldn't you just go ahead and, you know, schedule a cesarean? Why shouldn't everybody have a cesarean? Wouldn't that be easier?
Well, a repeat cesarean may be easier when it comes to knowing exactly when your baby is going to come, but it might not be easier on your body or on your emotions. A lot of women have what we call a traumatic cesarean birth with their with their first birth or second birth or whatever number they have their cesarean, and they can have a lot of birth trauma from that, and things that they need to work through.
Now, is it, are you talking like emotional trauma or physical trauma?
Both.
Oh, okay.
Some women can have, scar tissue that's built up. They can, physically, and they can have a really rough recovery. Some women, it takes a long time. I know that with my cesarean delivery, it took me maybe 4 weeks to be able to get up and walk to the bathroom on my own.
Wow.
It was a really difficult recovery. Some women need to have therapy with the scar tissue that's going on. They get infections. I know that my incision got infected, and that was really painful. And so now on the emotional side of it, a lot of women feel that they were robbed of their birth experience. We see on the movies, the husband's on one side and the other, whoever,
a nurse,
or somebody's on the other side holding their hands. Everybody's yelling, push, push. The baby comes out. The doctor catches it. The mom's sobbing. Everybody's so happy. She's beautiful and glowing, and it's just
her makeup is perfect.
Her makeup,
course.
of course, her hair's just in place, and she's sobbing and holding this beautiful baby. And you have this moment, that childbirth moment.
I did it. Yeah.
Yes, you have that triumphant moment. And in a cesarean birth, a lot of times, especially if it's an emergency cesarean, you miss out on that. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of moms feel like they don't have that, I did it, birth warrior mama moment. And they want it. They want it, and they deserve it. And so that's a lot of what women kind of go for with their vaginal birth after cesarean, is they're looking for their moment. And it's not selfish to want that. Every mom and every baby deserves a healthy, ideal birth, the birth that they choose. I think that it is a woman's right issue. Personally, I think that a lot of women are being pushed around, and it's really unfortunate. And I think
you always hear kind of like, well, you had a healthy baby and a healthy mom, and and there's probably more than that,
Yeah, a lot of cesarean moms have a really visceral reaction to that, because people are pushing their opinions onto them. It's almost like a sit there and be quiet kind of a thing. Don't complain because you have it right. And a woman who's had a traumatic cesarean will want to shove it right back in their face and say, you don't know what my experience was, because it can be very.
Like you said, you weren't there with me at 2 a.m. when I couldn't walk to the bathroom by myself.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a lot of loss of kind of
loss
self-control.
of control. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And especially in the birth experience world, you want to feel like you're on your own territory. Mm-hmm. You want to feel like you kind of own the space that you're birthing in. So it's a safe space. Mm-hmm. And when the power's taken from you and you're kind of strapped down or told to be quiet or told that you're not in control or what you say doesn't matter, it's taking the power away from a woman. It's taking the power away from the mom. And I think that's what kind of makes it a women's right situation.
Yeah. Now, what would you say was the biggest benefit after a woman has had one or more cesareans and she has a vaginal birth? What's the benefit to the mom for having that vaginal birth?
Well, first of all, speaking physically about the mom, there's one less scar on her uterus. If she wants to have future children, she won't have, that extra incision site, that extra scar tissue built up. So that's really beneficial. But emotionally, a lot of women find a lot of healing in their vaginal birth. Healing sometimes that they didn't even know they needed. And they'll feel very empowered by it. They'll feel like they were the one calling the shots because this is their body. And you can have a lot of violation. You can feel very violated sometimes in birth if you're not the one calling the shots. So if you get with a provider and with a birth team who's really building you up and making you feel like you're the one in control of the situation, especially in a situation where you may be topless or naked, or, you're very exposed and vulnerable and your inhibitions are down. You want to feel still in control of the situation. I feel like that's really important for women. So I think having that vaginal birth is kind of after having your cesarean, or even being able to try for it, even if something happens and you do end up with a repeat cesarean, just going for it and feeling like you're the one
having that trial of labor.
Having that trial of labor, that we called it TOLAC, trial of labor after cesarean, that really puts you back in the driver's seat, and it kind of makes you feel like you're the one in control of your own body.
Yeah. Stephanie, I'd like to hear what your experience was. What did you feel? Because you had a cesarean and then your baby Lydia was your VBAC baby. What did you feel was the biggest benefit to you with having that VBAC?
Just that I got that ideal birth. I got the birth that I missed out on. And knowing that, she picked her due date or her birthday, that she did really well in the laboring process, and that she benefited from all the good bacteria by
talk about the microbes.
The
microbes. That's the latest thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And, like her lungs got the compression that they need coming through the vaginal canal. And she got
I heard she screamed a lot when she came out.
Hey, she was ready to go.
Yeah. She had a lot to say.
A lot to say, and handled birth beautifully. And we didn't have to hear the yucky decel word of a heart rate, heart rate that happens with a lot of intervention, oftentimes leading to cesarean. And, so for me, getting to sort of have that dream birth that I had hoped for, and knowing that I was going to get up and walk to the bathroom 2 hours later.
Oh, yeah.
was amazing. And eating as they were, I had a 3rd degree tear, and my doula was feeding me a Lara bar as they were stitching me up, where I had to wait still through the night to even be able to eat after my C-section.
And how did breastfeeding go afterwards? Was that a benefit that you saw between your two children?
Fortunately, I had no problems breastfeeding with either. But just that immediate skin to skin that she got, I delivered at a baby friendly hospital, so there wasn't a nursery to whisk her away to. I got to literally pull her out, up, and onto my chest, and that's where she stayed for over an hour.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so kind of everything I didn't get the first time around, where I was shaking, coming off the anesthesia, and not able to hold my baby for about 45 minutes to an hour. That first go around really came back full circle and helped me heal emotionally as well as an easier physical recovery.
That's awesome. Natalie, you're coming up to your trial of labor here,
yes.
Going into your successful VBAC. That's what we're all hoping for you here. Now, what are you looking forward to as far as you had your cesarean with your son David, and we don't know little boy, little girl yet, but what are you looking forward to as a benefit for either yourself or your baby?
I think just that moment of victory that I'm doing what my body was meant to do, and I mean, you kind of had the birth that I want. I want to be able to pull my baby out and place it on my chest and look into its eyes immediately and know that that I did it, that we did it, that I gave the baby the birth that they deserve, and just really more of that victory of strength within myself. But I mean, I will say that with my son, I was lucky enough to at least have gone into a long enough labor that breastfeeding really wasn't an issue for me. And I feel like my body was able to heal a lot more because it was already ready to have the baby, that I had all of the hormones going through my body. So I'm liking a lot of these women that even though they are needing a cesarean or choosing a cesarean, that they choose to wait till they go into labor, because I feel like your body is it's a lot easier for it to heal when it's kind of ready for the baby to be born.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've heard the term belly birth before, which I thought was kind of cool. Like, it's a cesarean, but it's still a birth.
It is. It is. And that's one of those things that, like, I know that it's a possibility still, no matter how much positive thinking I do, how many books I read, and having a doula, but I know that I could have a cesarean, and I'm okay with it because I know I've been through it before, and but I will make sure that I go into labor beforehand. And that was one of the big things when choosing a care provider, that no matter what, if that's a necessity, that I want to be able to go into labor before that happens.
Now, Kelly Jo, going into that a little bit more, how, if a woman chooses that she is going to have a trial of labor after cesarean, how many women that go for that VBAC are actually get that VBAC?
I think it's like 75 to 85%.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Wow. Now, is VBAC, is it popular? I mean, it seemed like back in the 90s, and, I wasn't, I guess I was of childbearing age in the 90s. I'm exposing myself of how old I am here. It seemed like that was kind of the thing, that it was really popular, and now it seems like it's decreased in popularity. I mean, why is that? Do you think is it restrictions, or do moms just want to reschedule another cesarean? Is it,
Well, we're living in an interesting time right now where the medical community is being changed and affected by the insurance changes that are happening in our nation. And right now in America, we've had this shift in the way that insurance works, and I'm sure that will have a reflection on the way that birth is affected. But yeah, like you said, in the 90s, there was a shift and there was a change, and that had a lot to do with the fact that insurance providers, they kind of call a lot of the shots, which is unfortunate, but it's just how it works. They said that VBACs were not safe, and I think a big reason why they said that was because they were more expensive. They at the time... they were less expensive, and
then doing a cesarean, because you figure you have to have that extra nurse, you have to have the pediatric nurse, you have to have anesthesiologist,
right?
You're in the longer hospital stay probably with a C-section, yeah.
And if a doctor wants to be appointed with an insurance company, they'd better listen to what the insurance company has to say.
He can't practice without liability,
right?
So if his liability insurance, that totally makes sense.
Yeah,
the liability insurance is saying no, we're not gonna. You can do a VBAC. We're not telling you how to practice, but you won't have liability insurance. Well, who's going to go against that?
Right. And I will say that the younger doctors that I'm seeing fresh out of medical school and fresh off their residency are seeming to be much more VBAC friendly and much more friendly to the midwifery model of care. They're much more naturally minded when it comes to birth, much more supportive of the mom being in control. And I think that I see the tides changing and the energy kind of shifting back towards mom being in charge. And it seems like the younger generation of doctors, the older generation of doctors and the very youngest, the one in the middle who were practicing at their peak in the 90s, they're not as VBAC friendly, but it seems like, to me, from what I've seen, that the younger ones are
a lot more open.
Yeah, a lot more open.
Yeah, great. When we come back, we'll be discussing the risks of VBAC. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Today we're talking about the risks and benefits of VBAC. Now, Kelly Jo, what is the biggest risk when a woman chooses to VBAC?
Well, the big scary words.
No, what's the big scary?
Yeah, the big scary that we always hear about is the uterine rupture.
Okay.
Now,
how often does that actually happen, though?
Less than 1%.
Oh, wow.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. Less than 1%.
Now, with uterine rupture, I mean, that's actually like a split in the uterine muscle. That's what we're talking about?
Yeah, and I think when we hear rupture, that word kind of makes us think of
like aliens.
Right.
It's like the guy in the diner, and like, oh my God, it's a uterine rupture, except he's a guy, so he doesn't have a uterus.
Especially when our partners who maybe don't have a uterus, if they, they expect... I know my husband kind of says, is it like a balloon exploding? Mm-hmm. Is it kind of like that? It's not like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've heard of we hear about those uterine ruptures where a woman goes in for abdominal surgery later on in life, and her uterus is torn a tiny bit, and no one even realized it. Uterine rupture can be on a spectrum, you know, or it could be anywhere from a tiny little tear is a more appropriate word to a
catastrophic
thing. And so, you know, when the less than 1% is even kind of inflated. Yeah, it's even, I feel like it's a little bit inflated because you have these moms who have a tiny tear and it, you know,
and they don't find it out maybe for another reason. She goes in for the repeat cesarean, maybe baby's not handling the labor real well, or maybe she's just not progressing with cervical dilation. They go in to do the I mean, I guess that could be considered a tear as well, and they go in for some unrelated reason to do the repeat cesarean after a trial of labor that didn't, you know, work out, and there's a little tear.
Right.
But that's considered in the statistics.
Yeah. As someone who is works with a lot of moms who are attempting a TOLAC or a VBAC, one thing that I really, really like is the More Business of Being Born. They have a whole section
I saw that. It's
on uterine rupture, and I loved how they covered it. I loved how they explained it, that it's not this big end of the world thing, and I just thought that it was really great.
Mm-hmm. That was nice. When I was actually interviewing doulas, they talked about that, because I, up until about 2 weeks ago, thought uterine rupture means you're gonna rupture exactly where you had your incision, and you better get that baby out in 15 minutes or less or whatever. And they were telling me that it's just the smallest tear that could go almost unnoticed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, some moms have tears and they've never had a cesarean before. They have a rupture and they, you know.
Now, what can a mom do to reduce her risk of uterine rupture?
You know, there's some things that doulas recommend, like drinking the raspberry leaf tea and the evening primrose oil capsules. And
I thought raspberry leaf tea, I thought that was like, you know, raspberry zinger from, you know, like, I had no idea. I know, celestial seasoning. See, I had no idea that was like a black tea and it tasted gross. At least I think it did.
Oh, I
liked
it.
You like
a little agave. A little agave was my favorite. I like drinking it. I would brew it hot, add agave, and then I would drink it cold. And yeah, I thought it was great. It tastes like black tea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to sweeten it.
I'm just not a black tea person. I'm coffee person.
That's okay.
But yeah,
that's okay. We'll still like you.
Yeah. Now, what does the evidence tell us about induction coupled with VBAC? Is that something that's generally not recommended?
You know, this is something that actually came up on a forum that I'm a member of earlier today. Someone was asking, they were a doula, and they were asking for their VBAC client. They said, the doctor is thinking about inducing her with Pitocin. Is that okay? And it can, by a small percentage, increase your risk of a uterine rupture, but not so much that you're completely not able to have Pitocin. That's kind of a well circulated myth, is that a woman who's had a cesarean cannot have Pitocin. They can. I had it, and I lived to tell the tale.
You just want to ramp it up really, really high.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A responsible caregiver, a responsible OB will start out very slow and very gentle, and will use precaution. It's definitely something that you should talk about with your OB before before labor starts, before you get into the middle of it.
I imagine that ideally you would want to go into labor on your own.
Right. It doesn't always happen. My water broke and labor didn't start for 21 hours, and I was GBS positive, and so my care provider used a small amount of Pitocin to get labor going, and as soon as it was going, he turned it off, and it was fine.
Good. Awesome. Are there any drugs that should be avoided if inducing a VBAC mom? I've heard stuff about like Cytotec, or I'm not sure what the
dun dun dun.
Yeah,
Cytotec is a bad word.
Yeah. So what is Cytotec, and I mean, why do you hear the bad things about it?
Well, Cytotec, first of all, is not originally intended for labor. It was not a drug that was intended to treat mothers who are in labor, but a nice side effect was that it worked. But it's had it's gained a lot of attention in the birthing community as far as our news networks work, because it's there have been some maternal deaths associated with it. So it's something that, you know, makes me. My sister called me and said, "Oh, and then they induced me with Cytotec." She was going over her birth story with me. She said they used Cytotec, and my hands went in my hair. I said, "They used what? You let them do what?" And, she said, oh, well, I didn't know. And, it's something that you should research and that you should empower yourself about and that you should ask your provider about if they're, ask them. That can be a red flag for you. Ask them, are you comfortable using Cytotec? What's your position on Cytotec on
Why
moms?
is it used if it's not supposed to be used for labor? Is it like cheaper or something, or
That's a good question.
I actually just was reading about it, and they can't even explain why they are using it when they know that it's not. It's
indicated for inducing labor.
It's not indicated for inducing labor. It actually specifically says on there not for people who are pregnant, but they're still using it. And
Perhaps
I think that's
just out of habit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Knowing
we are
that it'll
creatures
work,
of habit.
maybe.
But yeah, I literally 2 days ago was just reading something about it, and they still can't explain why they use it.
Interesting. Thanks, Kelly Jo, for joining us today. For more information about the San Diego chapter of ICAN, as well as information about any of our panelists, visit the episode page on our website. This conversation continues for members of our Preggy Pals Club. After the show, Kelly Jo is going to be discussing the risks and benefits about another subset of VBAC, the HBAC, or home birth after cesarean. To join our club, visit our website, www.preggypals.com.
Hello, my name is Dr. Daniel Singley. I'm a licensed psychologist specializing in men's issues and founder of Basic Training for New Dads. Let's take a couple of minutes to focus on how expectant couples and parents of newborns can keep your relationship strong during the 3rd and 4th trimesters. The birth of a first child often results in a temporary decrease in marital satisfaction, and research has shown that the birth of a child is the most stressful child-related event that parents experience in their entire lives. There are a variety of very straightforward steps that new parents and parents-to-be can take in order to keep their relationship strong, and the key is to be proactive rather than waiting until frustration has turned to resentment. I've developed a cheat sheet for expecting parents which gives moms and dads ways to be proactive about managing some of the issues that can result in problems in their relationship during the transition to parenthood. First, for the expectant dads, you should take point on looking for a pediatrician during the 3rd trimester. Interview mom to find out what she's looking for. Let her know any preferences you might have as well, and make the rounds to gather the information so you can collaborate together about picking the right pediatrician. This is a great way to help mom out and to be closely involved with your baby's well-being from the get-go. Also, continue to express physical affection. Pregnancy and having a new baby naturally result in changes that can make intimacy a challenge. Even beyond having sex, think about the ways in which you would flirt or express physical affection when you first started dating via hugs, kisses, massages, maybe even a little pat on the butt now and then. The trick is to work at continuing to date your partner even when your instinct might be to spend all your time and energy on your new baby. Also, this is very important, take the lead on initiating a regular weekly 10 to 15 minute summit meeting to check in with each other. The goal is to connect with each other about how you're doing and not to do family business or hash out logistics. After a successful meeting, mom and dad have clearly expressed how they're feeling personally and have a good understanding of how the other's doing. Resist the urge to do business. Hardwire it into your schedule and do it before the baby comes. If you try to do it after, it's unlikely to start. Finally, fight fair. Conflict is normal. It's a necessary part of a relationship, but it can be that much more difficult when the stress of new parenthood sets in. I strongly encourage everyone to get Making Marriage Work for Dummies by Drs. Stephen and Sue Simring and read chapters 3 and 4 about communication and conflict management. They're a quick read, and they give couples clear, easily actionable techniques to keep lines of communication open and to handle conflict productively. Thanks very much for listening, and I hope this information is helpful. I'm Dr. Daniel Singley at newdadsclass.com, and be sure to keep listening to Preggy Pals for more tips on how new dads can optimize their transition to parenthood.
That wraps up our show for today. We appreciate you listening to Preggy Pals. Don't forget to check out our sister shows, Parent Savers, for parents with newborns, infants, and toddlers, Twin Talks for the parents of multiples, and our show, The Boob Group, for moms who breastfeed their babies. This is Preggy Pals, your pregnancy, your way.
This has been a New Mommy Media production. The information and material contained in this episode are presented for educational purposes only. Statements and opinions expressed in this episode are not necessarily those of New Mommy Media and should not be considered facts. While such information and materials are believed to be accurate, it is not intended to replace or substitute for professional medical advice or care, and should not be used for diagnosing or treating healthcare problem or disease or prescribing any medication. If you have questions or concerns regarding your physical or mental health or the health of your baby, please seek assistance from a qualified healthcare provider.
New Mommy Media is expanding our lineup of shows for new and expecting parents. If you have an idea for a new series, or if you're a business or organization interested in joining our network of shows through a co-branded podcast, visit newmommymedia.com. Hey mamas, don't forget to check out Mighty Moms. It's our online community built for new moms just like you. Not only can you connect with other moms, but you can also join us backstage for special mom-only online events. And you'll also be notified when we're recording so you can join us as a special guest. Visit our website, newmommymedia.com, and click on the Mighty Moms banner. It's free. That's newmommymedia.com. See you there.